Helen Yee here at the Litecoin Summit. Always great to be joined by the one and only Mr. Ben Askren. Always great to see you. And I know your book, Funky, is rated #1 bestseller in MMA on Amazon right now. So congrats.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's awesome. I'm an avid reader. I don't know about you, Helen.
I read your book, though.
Yes. Okay. I always say there's not enough MMA books and wrestling books out. Like wrestling, amateur wrestling, there's almost none. I've read them all. I enjoy them. I wish more people would write them. And MMA is the same. There's a handful of books out there. But like my friend Daniel Cormier, I was trying to tell him he should write a book because his story is great, And he's like, that's too much work. It's going to be really hard. I'm like, you asshole, write a damn book already. So I think people are really going to enjoy my book because there's not enough MMA content out there. Go through my time in wrestling, time in MMA, tell a lot of fun stories.
Yeah, it was definitely very captivating as well. So pretty soon you're going to be a '1 bestseller author.
Yes, that's the goal. So all you guys go buy my book so I can say I'm a #1 best-selling author. I think it's probably likely to happen. So we'll see.
Well, you've accomplished so much in your career, and someone else who has accomplished a lot that I spoke to recently, GSP. Obviously, there's a huge fight tomorrow in that main event, Islam versus Charles. So GSP told me
the fight that I'm the most anxious to see. Anxious to see? I think it's that I can't wait to see. It's Makhachev against Oliveira.
Yeah.
That could maybe determine who's the best current pound for pound right now in the ranking.
Do you agree with that
Who's
sentiment?
#1? Well, Marty was pound for pound #1. Who is now?
Volkanovski.
Oh, that's crazy. It's weird. This is probably a perception thing, but like, I remember when I was coming up, so now I'm old, so we're talking a little while ago, but it was like, John Jones, Demetrius Johnson, Anderson Silva, these guys who were #1, you looked at like, oh my God, they're so good. And like Volkanovski, he doesn't ever lose, but you also he wins these razor thin decisions against Holloway. So I just don't have the same sentiment about him that I do about those other guys, but that could just not be my perception.
Circling back to what GSP said, do you believe that the winner between Charles versus Islam will be the #1 pound for pound?
Who do I think the best fighter in the world is? Yeah, if Charles wins, so Makhachev, I don't know on that. But if Charles wins again, he's kind of beaten everyone in that division, and actually rather convincingly recently. He obviously had a little slower start to his career. He was kind of up and down. But, yeah, I think if he wins, I think he's probably #1. I'm trying to think of what my other options are. 85, Adesanya lost a Blachowicz, so probably not him. 205. I mean, that guy's doing, I don't know, his name's weird, so I don't want to get that wrong.
Yuri?
Yeah, Yuri. We'll stay with his first name.
Prohaska?
Prohaska? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
You probably got to get a little more in there.
Prohaska.
Yeah, it's Polish, so something like Prohaska, something like that. That's probably better. Yeah, we'll go Charles.
But what about then if he does win compared to, where he ranks out of all-time lightweights? Because a lot of people have Khabib as #1 on that list.
I think Khabib is probably still #1. Yeah, and the one thing that's going to, and when you say all-time, there's so many different ways to think about someone's success. So you could go with, you say Khabib. Well, I'll just give you two, right? Khabib, he's undefeated. Then you go John Jones. The number of top names John Jones beat is so much higher than what Khabib beat, right? But because of the, out of the cage things, and because he does have a couple losses, you maybe think of John Jones a different way, So, yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways to say, all-timers. And I would personally go with Khabib, but I could definitely see the argument people would be making for Charles.
Well, someone else that Charles has fought previously, one of your good friends from the college days, Michael Chandler, he has a huge fight coming up that Yuri Prohaska was actually in the middle of when they kind of got into it at UFC in July, yeah. You didn't see that video?
I didn't see the video, I guess.
Wow, where have you been? Not on Twitter.
Not on social media enough, apparently. No, I actually didn't see this.
Oh, okay. Well, Michael Chandler's gonna fight Dustin Poirier. So,
that's like in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'll have to send that video to you.
No, I did not see it. Explain to me what happened. Him and Poirier got into it backstage?
No, it was actually cage side. They were arguing, and you were right next to Dustin Poirier. Were you holding him back, or what happened?
No, I just be so close. I was closest to as I can in next to Dustin, and he started to be aggressive, to talk some trash talks and all these stuff for the Michael, and they start to talk together. Nothing what was surprised for me, but I saved them.
Have you talked to Chandler lately?
I texted with him maybe 2 weeks ago.
So how's he doing?
I don't know. He's training for a fight.
Yeah, pull the text up.
I'll pull it up. I don't even remember what we texted about. It was something. No, I didn't. I did not know he had a cage-side appearance. I sent him a book. That's what I did. Yeah. And then he said that he sent me this. He said this nice thing about me on this podcast, so he sent me that.
He did. He's a very nice man.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. So what do you make of his matchup, though?
Unfortunately, and I guess fortunately for fans, and maybe unfortunately for Michael, I think he throws caution to the wind too much. And I know fans like that, right? Because he just goes out there and freaking goes nuts. And so, it turns out really well for him sometimes, but sometimes it also turns out not so well for him. And so I think that's kind of the same thing. I think there's a relatively good chance he TKOs Dustin, and there's a chance that it probably doesn't turn out that well for him.
I do have to add and give a shout out to Gilbert Burns because he did film that exchange between Dustin and Chandler, which I'll send it to you.
Maybe it was a setup.
I don't think so. I just can't believe because you're like Mr. Twitter over here. I always see your tweets and you haven't seen it.
I am on Twitter. I'm on Twitter quite a bit, and no, I don't recall that, unfortunately.
Something else that is coming up.
What else I missed on Twitter?
Well, okay, Israel. Someone else you just mentioned. He's about to fight Alex Pereira.
I knew that one.
Okay, so you know that.
Good in that last one. You know who got boom roasted was Sean Strickland. I don't know what he was doing, thinking he could stand up with Pereira. He should have double-legged him.
Israel versus Alex, I mean, they've met twice in kickboxing. How do you see it playing out in MMA?
Well, given the fact that I would be very surprised if either one of them goes for a takedown, I think that would be shocking to everyone. Given the fact that Pereira beat him twice in kickboxing, I don't really have any reason to believe that he's not going to do the same in MMA, given that the fight is going to be either primarily or almost all standing.
And lastly, someone else that I just mentioned, Gilbert Burns. He's been campaigning for a fight against a former man you know very well, Jorge Masvidal. So, yeah, do you think that fight should happen?
Well, if you're looking at welterweight, he just lost to Chimaev. Burns did. Yeah. And he lost to Usman. Usman's going to fight Leon Edwards again next. They're probably doing Chimaev versus Colby, but Colby's kind of been on the sidelines. So yeah, I think George versus Gilbert makes a lot of sense. I think George probably doesn't want to sign for that fight because it's probably another L for him.
But all the fans who miss you and all the MMA fans who can't wait to see more of you. I mean, I know they're going to read your book, but where else can they find you?
Just on Twitter. That's it. Listen, I'm in my retired life, so I'm not going to be as active on social media. I'm going to miss some things like we've seen in here. I follow wrestling very closely. I try to watch as much mixed martial arts as I can, but I definitely don't watch it all. There's so much mixed martial arts on now. I mean, you have between Bellator 1, PFL, and UFC, you're having more than one card a weekend. So, like, keeping up with it all is sometimes hard. But I try to watch as much as I can. But you're not going to see me as much because, listen, I live on 10 acres. You don't know where that is. I just keep to myself. I have no neighbors to answer to. I go fucking play some disc golf. I hang out with my kids, coach some wrestling. That's it.
But I will say, yeah, you live on a beautiful, 10 acres of... Yeah, we have been there, but you have coyotes still eating your chicken.
The son of a bitch coyote hasn't gotten one since you guys were there. But we have not killed him yet, though, unfortunately.
Don't kill coyotes.
I'm gonna kill him? Well, not me.
With what? You don't have guns.
Well, I had a hunter, so I have someone who hunts my property for deer, and they saw the coyote, and they thought it was a possum in his mouth, and he was making a getaway, and they tried to shoot him, but they missed. They said he got away too fast. So I am actively trying to kill the coyote. Yes. Yeah.
Well, stay tuned for that.